Hey, welcome back to Livin MN Outdoors. I'm Daniel, and thanks for tuning in to this week's fishing report. Before we dive into this week's report, just want to remind you guys, if you do use any of the guides or resorts mentioned in today's report, please let them know you saw them on Livin MN Outdoors. And with that being said, let's dive right into this week's fishing report. All right, this week we are going to start off up on Lake Winnie. The walleye fishing opener up there was absolutely dynamite, and it looks to be continuing to be very good into this week. Now, some of the best areas to target walleyes out there right now is along the east shoreline on the sand, and then up in the bay on the sparse weeds and last year's weed edges. Now, the best depth range to target those fish, it depends on the clarity of water you're fishing. If you can find some of that dirty water, anywhere from 3 to 8 foot of water is producing a ton of really nice fish. But if you're in that clearer water, you're gonna wanna move out a little bit deeper in that 7 to 14 foot of water. Now, the best ways to catch those walleyes right now is a jig in a minnow or a jig and plastic. Throwing a jig in plastic does seem to be producing more big walleyes, where if you switch over to a jig and minnow, they're picking up a lot more eater-sized walleyes. The early morning and late evening and into the dark bite has been absolutely on fire. Some guys have been trolling crankbaits up in shallow and picking up some nice fish that way as well. And then some guys have already started pulling spinner rigs, which seems a little bit early, but they're having some good success doing that. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, nobody really caught any perch on opener that I talked to. I suspect that a lot of those perch have already moved out deeper and are going to be a little bit trickier to target. Now, same thing with panfish. It seemed like everybody was focused on the walleye bite, so I didn't get a ton of information on those either, but I would suspect up in the bay, fish those shallow weeds in that 5 to 8 foot of water, and you're more than likely going to stumble into some of those fish. Now, if you guys are looking for a place to stay up on Lake Winnie, the Pines Resort, they do have cabins, RV sites, full bar and restaurant, live bait, rental boats, whatever you need to make a successful fishing trip, they offer it. So if you're looking to get up to Lake Winnie, go ahead and call Chad from the Pines Resort. If you're looking to book a guide up on Lake Winnie, Scott from zupsguideservice, he is the premier walleye guide up there. He does not have a ton of availability left in May or June, but he does have May 23rd, 24th, and 26th for his all-day trips, and then he is offering twilight trips as well, and those run from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. So give him a call, find out the availability on his twilight trips, and book a awesome walleye fishing trip up on Lake Winnie. All right, now moving over to Leech Lake. The walleye bite on Leech for opener, it seemed to be a little more hit or miss than Lake Winnie, but the guys who had a little bit of experience fishing out there seemed to do very well. Now, some of the better areas to target was that first break out in front of Acorn Hill Resort, all the way down to Pine Point, Stony Point, West Goose Flats, the hardwood points. Those were all good areas to target walleyes. Now, the best depth range I heard was that 8 to 14 feet of water, and the best ways to catch those fish were on a jig and minnow. Now, some guys were throwing slip bobber rigs, especially the guys using live scope. If they could locate individual fish, they would pitch a slip bobber right on top of them, and they would have success getting them to eat a leech. Now, as far as the perch bite goes, I think the majority of the perch have already moved out because not a lot of people were catching them. The panfish bite up in the northern bays, those shallow weedy bays, they were picking up some really nice crappies and bluegills in that 7 to 11 feet of water. In best ways to catch those crappies were on a jig in minnow, jig in plastic, or for the bluegills, they were throwing a slip bobber and a chunk of a night crawler. Now, if you are looking for a place to stay up on Leech Lake, Acorn Hill Resort, they do have some cabins available midweek or still some weekend availability as well. And ask them about their RV sites because they might have some RV sites as well. Now, Acorn Hill Resort, they did just open their brand new bar and restaurant, the Loaded Loon Bar and Grill. They are going to have sporadic hours up until Memorial Weekend, so make sure you tune into their Facebook pages to follow the hours of the bar and restaurant. Now, Acorn Hill Resort, they also will be hosting Walleye Camp, which runs June 7th through the 14th. That does include your housing, your meals, your guide trips, and your guide seminars. And then later in the summer, August 9th through the 16th, they will be hosting Muskie Camp, and that is the same thing. Housing, meals, guide trips, and guide seminars will be included in the price of that. So if you're looking to get up to Leech Lake this coming weekend or in the future, go ahead and call Kyle from Acorn Hill Resort. All right, now moving over to Mille Lacs Lake. The walleye bite on opener was pretty good all around. The best areas to target those walleyes were on the rock and sand. Now, the north side of the lake seemed to produce the most fish overall. That first break in that 12 to 16 foot of water was producing some really nice fish and a lot of those keeper fish. Now, a lot of guys were having success throwing slip bobbers and leeches, although some guys were having success pitching jigs in plastics and shiners. Now, if you wanted to fish a little bit later in the evening up until dusk and into dark, trolling crankbaits in that shallow 6 to 10 foot of water was working well. Just keep in mind that the night ban has gone into effect out on Mille Lacs Lake, so look into the regs on that before heading out after dark. Now, if you're looking to hire a guide out on Mille Lacs Lake, Joe from Keeper's Guide Service, he does have some midweek and weekend availability still in May and June, and he is offering all day and evening trips, so whether you want to fish all day or just in the evening, go ahead, give him a call and look into booking one of those trips. All right, well, I think that's going to do it for this week's fishing report. Really appreciate you tuning in. If you make it out fishing, take some pictures, send them to us over on Facebook or to our Gmail. And remember, if you do get out there, be respectful of other fishermen, don't crowd your neighbor, lend a helping hand at the boat ramp, and most importantly, don't forget to get on out there and get living.